My name's Dave DeBow, founder of MoneyPartnerFormula.com, and this show is built for everyday real estate investors who are actively doing deals and looking to scale using other people's money. So if you're an active real estate investor and you want to get featured on this show to talk about your own real estate and capital raising experiences, then just go to daveinterviewsyou.com. Now let's get rolling with this episode, and remember to subscribe for daily interview content. Hey, folks, welcome back. Today, zooming in from beautiful Florida, we have Brent Kesler, and Brent's got an interesting story because Brent has really become an expert in something called infinite banking. And you've probably heard of that. You might even watched one of my episodes from months or years ago about this, but you might have forgot what it's all about. So what I've asked Brent to do here is he's got a very interesting backstory about how he personally used infinite banking to dig himself out from almost $1 million in debt in just over 3 years using this infinite banking concept. So Brent, welcome to the call. Great to have you.
Hey, thanks for having me, Dave. Glad to be here. So yeah, man.
Yeah. Hey, so infinite banking, lots of people, myself included, have heard about this, might even learned about it a while ago, forgot all about it, didn't do it, should probably do it. But why don't you just kind of walk me through, how did you clue into this? And then how did you dig yourself out of $1 million of debt using this concept?
Yeah, right. So let me give you the backstory here. So I'm actually a chiropractor. I no longer practice chiropractic anymore. I own 5 clinics in the Kansas City area. It's been since 2008 or 2009 since I've actually practiced in a clinic. I had associate
Since you've cracked a
docs.
back?
Yeah, right. So anyway, I had associate docs in my clinic. So I haven't been practicing since '08 or '09, right? So anyway, I sold my last clinic in 2017, and this concept that I teach, the money multiplier concept, is right. So I've been teaching it since March of 2012. Now, so how did I start doing this? Well, I went to a chiropractic conference back in 2006, and I heard somebody talk about the infinite banking concept, becoming your own banker. Now, there's a guy that wrote this book. The book is called Becoming Your Own Banker. And the guy that wrote it, his name is R. Nelson Nash. Now, R. Nelson Nash passed away about 5.5 years ago in March of 2019 at age 87 years old. But that book completely changed my life. And of course, Nelson was my mentor through this whole process. But back when I first heard about this, Dave, I was sitting in a chiropractic conference in 2006. And I heard somebody talking about this banking concept, how to build, keep, and create wealth, how to pay off all your debts, all your expenses, how to recycle, recapture your money. So I thought to myself, man, this is really, really cool, but it just sounds too good to be true, right? I'm sure you've seen things like that before where it sounds good, but it seems too good to be true. Well, that was me. I thought it was too good to be true. So I left that conference in '06. I went home. I actually bought this book. I think I paid $20 for this book, bought it home, put it on my shelf, did nothing with it. I
Yeah.
go back to another conference about 2 years later, and about 10 or 12 of my chiropractic colleagues that were at the previous conference are now at this conference with me. Now, the only difference between them and me, Dave, is they heard the information 2 years earlier in 2006, and they acted upon the concept. So they were going on, and they were telling me about this. They were like, man, isn't this the most awesome thing ever to build wealth, to pay off debt, to recapture money? And they were basically throwing up all over me about how this thing was working. And I thought to myself, there has to be something to this, right? Because there's no way 10 or 12 of my colleagues are lying. Maybe 1 or 2, but not 10 or 12. So I went home and I told my wife, it was February of 2008. And I said, honey, we have to start implementing this concept in our life. And at that time, in February of 2008, Dave, I was $984,711 in debt. That's what I owed to the third-party creditor. Now,
For what?
yep, exactly. You're probably thinking, well, Brent, how do you know how much debt you're in? Well, that was part of the exercise. I
Okay.
had to know that amount. So how did I get to be almost $1 million in debt? Well, I had my student loans from chiropractic school. At that time, I had 2 clinics. I also had my house mortgage. Okay. I also had a condo at the Lake of the Ozarks between St. Louis and Kansas City. And if you have a condo on the lake, Dave, guess what you have to have? A boat and a wave runner, right? Yeah, man, you can't have a condo on the
Okay.
lake
Yeah,
without a boat and a
I'm
wave
getting
runner.
the picture. So you got mortgages and you got toys and you got student debt,
I'm also
business
an
debt.
airplane pilot, so I had to have my own airplane. So it
Okay.
didn't take me a lot to become almost $1 million in debt. Well, I placed this concept into place and I was able to pay that debt off in 39 months, 3 years and 3 months. I never had to work any harder. I didn't have to change my cash flow, take any additional risk, or lose control of my money. I simply added one simple step. And it was the step that I learned from Nelson Nash. So I became really passionate about this message. So in 2012, I started teaching this to other people. And it was kind of an accident of how I started teaching it because I own, right? Because I was into chiropractic. I
Yeah, yeah.
had chiropractic clinics. So, and the reason I started teaching this is because I went to my, okay, the guy that I started my first banking program with. And anyway, he lived in a town in Kansas. He lived in a town called Lawrence, Kansas. And I went to him and I was going to ask him some stuff about as far as my particular plan. So I went to his office and I said, Ray, I have some questions for you. He walks downstairs and he says, Brent, I was looking through my records and I seen here that you've referred me 41 clients. And I kind of laughed about it. And I said, well, Ray, you've never paid me a dime for any of those people I referred you, right? And I kind of laughed about it. And he said, no, no, no. In all seriousness, he says, you are very good at this concept. He says, you implement it great in your life.
Yeah.
You're telling other people about it. You should consider doing it. I
So
said, really?
what I'm trying to do, Brent, is get you to kind of explain how the concept works using yourself as the guinea pig,
Yeah.
how you did it yourself with $1 million in debt.
Yeah, exactly right. So anyway, just to give you the high picture, the 25,000 foot
We
overview.
got the big picture. Now walk us through
So
the
anyway, I
process.
had all these debts that totaled almost $1 million.
Yeah.
Okay. Now I go into great detail and I explain step by step on this that's on my 90-minute presentation that's at my website, themoneymultiplier.com. But so the thing that I have is I have all these debts and I create this thing called the money multiplier map. Some people call it a financial GPS or a debt recovery schedule. And I have all my debts on this schedule. And on each of those debts, it shows you how much I owe, how long I've got to pay it for, what the interest rate is on that debt, and what is the minimum monthly payment that I pay.
Got it.
So
So in your case, you had your mortgages in there, you had your toy
everything,
payments in there, each different debt, you plugged it into this thing.
every single thing that I owed somebody else money on.
Got it.
And I could even have had my expenses on there, such as my electric bill, my grocery bill, my water bill. I mean, right? It's not just third party debt, it's all expenses. So now, the concept, the infinite banking concept, is it's driven by a whole life insurance policy or a system of policies. Now, I know I just lost a lot of your listeners because I said whole life insurance, and people are thinking, whole life insurance is a horrible way to build wealth because that's what Dave Ramsey and Susie Orman told them, right?
Yeah.
But no, this is the best vehicle on the planet to build, keep, and create wealth. As a matter of fact, Dave, this is what the wealthy use to build wealth, right? So, and not just recently. I'm talking about 250 years. The Rockefellers, the Rothschilds, the Morgans, the Stanleys, the Barclays. Go out and look and see how Walt Disney built Disneyland, how Ray Kroc funded McDonald's, how Pampered Chef got started before Warren Buffett bought Pampered
Okay.
Chef.
Got it. Got it.
This
Whole
is
life.
what the wealthy do. So
Mhm.
all we do is we mimic and imitate exactly what the wealthy have been doing for over 200 years. So what we do is we go out and we buy a insurance policy. Now, let me be clear. This is not any type of life insurance policy. No, no, no. This is not the life insurance policy that you can get from your brother-in-law that sells life insurance. We all have a brother-in-law that sells life insurance. It is not that type of policy. It is a specifically designed, specially engineered whole life policy in a mutual company, very important, a mutual company that pays dividends, that is designed for high immediate cash value. One more time, high immediate cash value. That means when you put money, Dave, into this policy, you start using that money immediately. And my definition of immediately is within 30 days. So all we're doing is adding one step to our financial life. I'm just putting dollars into the policy first, and you get to decide how much you want to put in. I have over 17,000 clients in every state of the country. Never, never, never have I told anybody how much to put in.
So for your $1 million debt, how much money did you put in?
I started the policy with $2,000 a month.
Okay.
Because I couldn't afford to put in all 24,000 in a lump sum annually. So that was my first policy. Then a few months later, I started another one for $2,000 a month.
So was it like one policy per debt? Is that was it kind of like?
No, not one policy for debt. Normally, what people do is they have a system of policies. As a matter of fact, like 91% of my clients that have been with me a year or longer have more than one policy. So most people do get more than one. But the first one you get is the number that you are comfortable with putting in. Because remember, anything that's brand new, people have very high, right? The thing is, their defenses are high and their trust is low. So, but after they start this and they see how well it's working for them, they're like, man, this is working good. I should do more. So the thing they do is they have to add another policy, Dave. And the reason they have to add another policy and cannot just continue to fund that same one is because the policy is a contract. So in the beginning, when you start the policy, what you're saying is I want to start that policy with X amount of dollars. Even though down the road, you're like, I want to do more dollars, you got to start a new policy because there's these things that we have in the United States called the MEC limit, MEC, called Modified Endowment Contract. Now, I don't know how it works in Canada, but anything that works really good for the individual or for the citizen and the government gets a hold of it and they say, hey, this is working really, really good for the people. We better get in and get our share and change the rules so it doesn't work as good for them. That's how it works in the US, right? So the government comes in and says, hey, we're going to create this thing called a MEC. And that's what they did in 1988. So that means if you tried to overfund or overstuff that policy, it's now no longer treated as an insurance contract, but it's treated as an investment and it's subject to taxation.
So let's back up. In your case, Brent, you start off with this one whole life policy. You were funding it $2,000 a month, 24,000 a year. How does that translate into paying down or paying off debts?
Yeah, well, the thing you do is you put money into the policy, and then from the policy, you take a policy loan from the insurance company. Now, very key here, you're not taking your money out of the policy. No, no, no. You put your policy up for collateral, take a policy loan from the insurance company. So all of your money is still in the policy, growing and compounding, uninterrupted compound interest, and you have use of the money at the same time. So as you're taking that policy loan, the thing that you're doing is you're paying down your third-party debt. So, right? So, for example, let's say in my first policy, I had $10,000 of cash to borrow. Okay, I'm just
so after 5 months that you've been paying into this thing, you built up 10 grand. Got it.
So I borrow that $10,000 and I pay down or pay off that third-party debt. So, okay, so on my website, I go through line by line example of how a client took $470,000 of debt. They were putting in $25,000 a year into the policy. They paid off all $470,000 in 61 months, and they did it They paid off all that debt with a $160,000 outside injection. So they kept their cash flow the same, never changed their cash flow, paid off all the debt in 5 years, and it was going to take them 18 years. They paid it off in 5 years and 1 month. With $160,000, they paid off that $470,000 in debt. So I did the same thing with 984,000 and I did it in less time. The only difference between me and the example that I show in my presentation is that I just went faster. I went faster and put in more than that individual did. That's the only difference. It doesn't matter how fast or slow that you go. Some people go faster, some people go slower. It doesn't matter. It's up to you. You go at the pace that you want. All the money is guaranteed. Nobody in your state, and I know you're in Canada, nobody in your state, and even Canada, I'm going to assume Canada. I don't know everything there is to know about Canada, but I have some Canadian colleagues that I work very closely with. But nobody ever in the United States has ever lost money in a whole life policy in a mutual company that pays dividends. It's never happened. Go look it up, try to find it. You won't find it anywhere.
So I got a dumb question for you, Brent. So you're borrowing from your whole life policy to pay off your debt. How do you pay back your whole life policy?
Yeah, great question. Not a dumb question at all. So it's your choice if you want to pay back your policy loan. See, the policy loan never has to be paid back, right? Because you're continuing to put premium in the policy and the growth is continuing to grow at greater levels as time goes on. That's not me telling you that. That is in the insurance contract. So before you ever receive, sign, or pay for your policy and accept it, you'll see all of those numbers. So essentially, the policy loan is nothing more than a prepayment of your death benefit. So you are borrowing from a portion of your death benefit. See, so the insurance company will never, ever lose. They can't ever lose because you are guaranteed to die, pass, graduate, whatever word you like to use. It's not an if, it's a when. We all have an expiration date. We just don't know when that expiration date is. So the insurance company will never lose because at the time of your death, if you have not paid back any or all of the policy loan, what the insurance company does is they subtract that amount that they've already given you while you are living from the death benefit amount, because they've given you that money in advance. So essentially what you're doing, Dave, is you're living off of a portion of your death benefit while you're living, instead of you waiting till you die to give all your death benefit to your ungrateful children.
Fantastic, Brent. All right. Well, this is fascinating stuff. If people want to find out more and maybe get a copy of your book, where should they go?
Yeah, my website is www.themoneymultiplier.com. That's THE, the word moneymultiplier.com. I also wrote a book called Mapping Out the Millionaire Mystery about 4 years ago. Actually, I wrote it with a guy named Chris Naugle. A lot of you guys may know Chris Naugle. He's up in Buffalo, New York, so way closer to Canada than I am down here in Florida. But Chris is very, very active in the real estate world. He's had a couple shows on TV, one on House Hunters, another one on HGTV called Risky Builders. It's Naugle, Naugle. Chris wrote the book with me. He was my client. Now he's my colleague. Go watch everything Chris Naugle does. Go to chrisnaugle.com. But yeah,
so where do they get the book, Brent?
Just go to the website, themoneymultiplier.com. I have my full presentation on there. Watch Brent now. There's also a link somewhere on there where it says get the ebook. Very easy to get. If not, send me an email, Brent@themoneymultiplier.com. The last thing I'll say is my daughter, Hannah, 25 years old, she has a podcast called The Money Multiplier Podcast, over 160 episodes live on iHeartRadio, records a new episode every single week. Go check that out. As a matter of fact, Dave, you and her should be guests on each other's podcast, Exchange being guest. I don't know how all that crap works, but you guys will figure it out.
Thanks for being on the show, Brent.
Thank you.
Hey there, I really hope you enjoyed that episode. And as always, if you want to listen to more daily interview content, make sure you subscribe. And if you're an active real estate investor and you're doing deals and you'd like to get featured on this show, then just head over to daveinterviewyou.com. Now at moneypartnerformula.com, we help real estate investors to create a process for predictably getting capital so they can do more deals without relying on hard money lenders or the banks. We do this by building them a private capital marketing system. Now, if you want help turning yourself into a big money capital attraction machine, then book a call with our team to see how we can help. Just visit moneypartnerformula.com to find out more. All right, take care, and we'll see you on the next interview.